Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pineapple Podcast. Today, I have a very special and amazing guest, Howard from Hay to Brick Investment Company. Today, the journey we're talking about is how do you become a US investor being a Canadian? So, welcome to the Pineapple Podcast. Again, folks, remember hit the like, subscribe button. We definitely want to continue growing our base. Howard, welcome to the Pineapple Podcast.
Hey, Mitch, and very nice to meet you, and thank you for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Please, Howard, give us an idea of, the asset management company that you have. Give us a sense of how much asset that you're managing today in this company.
Yeah, we are a small Canadian-based U.S. Investment company. So we invest in apartments in Ohio. So right now, up to date, we have just under 263 units and at about 225 millions US. So we're growing and we have 16 buildings. So we're looking forward to grow and continue to do it that way. So yeah, so a little bit of overview. So we started out 2018. But the last 11 months we grew basically almost like 6 times. So we are aggressively growing. So we continue to hopefully doing that way.
That is brilliant. I love the way you started that. So you've been able to really identify your strategy, get into it, and now you're growing even above sort of like your own expectations. $25 million US asset management in the way you're structured, being Canadian and doing it in the US. To me, that's a brilliant strategy. And I agree with you. When you look at the US portfolio managers, 25 seems to be sort of like a small number. But when you look at it from our side of it, Howard, where we look to you to say, hey, you know what? If you can do that, I can go from my 5 unit apartment building or maybe my 3 duplexes. I can get into that. So I really want to unpack this. Like, this is really exciting for us. So let's get to learn about Howard, when Howard was just like us trying to figure it out, like, why real estate? Tell us, Howard, what is your background? And then when did you decide to flip into real estate?
My background is so I came here from Hong Kong when I was 17 years old with
Mhm.
my parents, working class families, and so right after that, so I finished 1 year high school and then jumped into engineering school because honestly, that's probably the only thing that we can do well
Yes.
from my background, and we did, and it's a little bit of episode. Instead of taking 4 years of engineering, unfortunately. I'm not a really good student, so it took me 5 years. And hey, that's just life. And but at the end, so I graduated with my engineering degree and start doing engineering jobs, and it was really good. I would say 10 years of solid, becomes professional engineers and go to others field and working as an oil and gas engineer, and I love it, and I love it. But always something that is kind of in my back of my mind. I'm kind of going back, I guess, the first summer jobs. This is a kind of side story. I see this really, really good. I mean, top-notch PhD
Yeah.
electrical engineer. And I was looking at myself. I'm talking to myself. I'm nowhere near as smart as this guy. I knew that, and he's
Right.
from China and have PhD. And so we are just sitting in this common area,
Hmm.
and I'm just 22 years old. My first engineering job from the company. I don't know what you guys know. It's
Yeah.
called BJ Service,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there for that's 2 months. I was like, I still remember that, like the first day, like first week, I was sitting there, and this PhD engineer, like sitting there, and the back is facing me, so I'm always looking at his back. I'm stuck to myself. If I'm nowhere near as smart as this guy, so but I don't want to be like him when I'm like my 40s, right? I was like
Yeah.
20s at that time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little bit epiphany, knowing that, what, I want to be engineer, it's good income, things like that. But I don't want to be sitting there and be him when I'm like 20, 30, 40 years later down the road. So that's kind of how I, kind of like in my mind, I need to do something more. I need to do something more. But we started on investing in Canada when we were 26 years old. Me and my wife got super expensive loan or mortgage, as we talked about earlier, Mitch. And
Mhm.
we started building in 1 unit, and then slowly, around we were 35 years old, we had about 16 units, property in Canada, in US, and in Asia, which is where my background is from Hong Kong. But I noticed somewhere on the line, like that's really hard to scale when we participate in single families. So that's kind of lead us to where we want to be eventually going to the US and do multi-families.
Wow, that's brilliant. Now, I just want to frame back to other people so they get it. At this early age, 22, 21 to 23, let's say, you are actually self-realizing at that age that your careers can have limitations in life. So you already sort of had that rise or that awareness that I need something better. And you're not sure what that would look like yet, other than I know I need something better, right? And then you fell into the real estate world. I love the fact that you said we started in the single family home. You know what? That's exactly where my wife and I started. It was like, okay, let's try and buy one house. Like that was a big deal for us, right? And then you got the other one, and it's like super exciting. But then when you start to really understand and you get connected with people in a community, and you realize like that's entry level. That's to just get you going, that's like the appetizer. uh, but then when you start to understand scale, business, I really want this to not just be a additional increment to my income. I actually want this to be a way of life and to get the financial freedom that we're looking for. I mean, that's a game changer in my opinion. And the fact that you were able to sort of get that vision at that early age, to me, first of all, compliments to you for doing that. But also for our viewers here as well, I want you guys to realize, at whatever stage in life you are, if you get that realization, there's a way to build that future. And also, if you could impart this knowledge to your children, especially if they're just coming out of university and trying to figure it out, this is the time. At that time, man, sky's the limit, because your ability to learn is still so hot, and so you're like still like a sponge. So tell us how about it. I really want to know now. So how many residential properties or so did you get, and then you said, okay, we're gonna do things differently. So how did you transition from that into your current strategy?
So, so thank you for asking, Amish. So I was gonna add on that for the biggest part of our life, all we want, and I'm looking back now, so I'm smiling. All we want, me and my wife, and talk about Mandy is my wife, and
Yeah.
we this on the journey. That's why I say we. Thanks for addressing that. And we only want 10 buildings. I mean, 10 properties. We
Right.
only went. We well, for longest time.
Yeah.
This is like, you know what? If we could, get our hand, we talk about in the 20s, right? And
Yes.
and before that, from 0 to 20s, as if we can have 10 property, that would be just nice, Mitch. We had that dream, and we were like looking up to people like, very successful people like yourself and others. And we have always talking about, if we can get to 10 buildings, because the financial wall, the so-called financial wall is 5 buildings, right?
Yes.
And everyone's talking about that. If you have a job, if you have normal financing, if you're doing it, everyone's doing it that way, then if you're doing it, so we were having this dream of having 10 buildings.
Yes.
So but I think that the what you have mentioned is really true, is Mitch, is like you learn by something, by associate people that who have some kind of success. So so we really quickly learn about that. You know what? Doing properties in, we have 16 unit at that time in Canada is great. But as I go learn, as in south of the border, we talk about, hundreds and hundreds of units of buildings or apartments or
Yes.
residential properties. They're
Yes.
small guys, right? I
Right.
learned that 600 units is kind of the mid-level. I think now they always keep changing. So I know so many people who have thousand, and I'm talking about on my phone uh, dial is like, they have 1,000 unit, or they have owned, and so 16,000, 3,000. So they are just normal everyday people like you and I. So
Wow.
at that time,
Yeah.
they're realizing it, as you said, the sky is the limit, as you said. And but that is the dream, and that is like the seed. But how do you get there, right? How do you get there? And
Right.
it's more mythical than what many people, I would say, were thinking. It's not really about putting this 80 hours a week. I mean, you have to do it anyway, but many people do 80 hours a week. Why him and not you, right? Or why her is not you?
Right.
So along the way, a lot of people help us. So I love to share what I know. I love to share on this platform what I know. So yeah, it's not that difficult, but you have to do the work, as you know that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's brilliant sharing for sure. Because once you kind of become aware of what are the possibilities, like you say, suddenly you're seeing people with $1,000, $3,000, and they're everyday people. To me, that's just mind blowing because if they're doing it, then how can I do it, right? So maybe just for people who would love to do this, because again, being in Canada and wanting to get a piece of the US market, it's something that's quite intriguing and everybody's really interested in it. But to make that bridge, it takes some level of learning, understanding, and networking that a lot of people don't have. And even from a, and then to make it even more complicated, you're going to have the tax implications on that too, right? So people don't know what they don't know, and you really have to find experts at it, and they're not everywhere. They really are not everywhere. So maybe you could share with us, like in the initial part, now that you're kind of set up, but how did you find or network these people?
My first US connections is through a home study program. And I bought this home study program. It's not expensive by any way.
Yes.
So it's called Algae Mentor, and I have no problem sharing where they're from and what they do and whatnot, because honestly, um I pick up the home study program book. It's about $1,500 at that time, so it's very very affordable. To sharing all this knowledge, we have like 4 or 5 different binders and like CD after CD and after CD, and long story short is I reading this book and reading this home study program, and then I'm like, you know what? This is crazy. This is just normal everyday people. This is not talking about public risks. It's not
Yeah.
talking about hedge funds and whatnot. We're not talking about all those things. People who are like family men and women like you and I, like owning, like you, as you said, like owning big pieces, like considerable
Yeah,
amount of real
yeah. Oh
estate.
my God.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I need to go to US. And I did. And I did go to US. And I go to US at the beginning of time and having no connections, having no as in what is say limited connections and
Yeah.
limited know-how, and start, as you said, we Mandy and I were the networking junkie. So, at one time I think we went to US 20 different times
Oh my God.
and market. So we are literally uh on the road, and we have a little baby at that time. Our baby is like 1 year old, 2 year old,
Oh boy.
and we have like we traveled on 11. We traveled to San Diego. We traveled to Florida. We traveled to Washington. We traveled to our market, Ohio, and so many different markets, and Stockton, California. But long story short is, we were like a sponge. We realizing that that's like you talk to people that who own $1 billion real estate just standing right in front of you. The
Yeah.
difficult, the challenge, that the reason why I'm not him is really myself, because this guy is in front of me, is like have access to $2 billion of capital, and he's in front of me. So long story short is, I'm realizing that the US way of doing business is very amazing in terms of the able to mobilize capital, in terms of they really forefronting, they're really direct,
Yeah.
and they're really business friendly, and all those really intrigue to us, really attract to us, is really matching how I want to do business, how I want to grow my company. And so yeah, no, and you said it really right. People like you and I, everyday people, can go to the US and find all those people to meet. The difference that whether ones can do it and others cannot do it is, are you really going to make those trips? Are you really going to be putting that? We remember, me and my wife, during the home study program, we stay up night to 1 to 3 a.m. consistently for like 2 years.
Right.
So, well, we don't know anything, so we got to learn. So I would heavily challenge the people who are listening to this podcast, and I say heavily challenge, because you're gonna be
Yeah.
really doing the work. No one, and shouldn't be, they're gonna hand over to you to a piece of dream, like this is the right and opportunity to your kids. Think about that.
Yeah.
Nothing about to yourself. This is opportunity and right to your family. So that's how we look at it. And we don't stop, and we don't want to stop. We continue that way.
You know what? I love this. I absolutely love this, Howard. You know, what you're sharing with us today, this is what we're searching for. Real, live, unfiltered experiences, you know, and I want to frame some things here because, you know, you're giving us your experiences, but here's what's jumping out at me, and I'm sure it's going to jump out for a lot of other members too, right? 2 years of really nonstop learning, crunching, figuring it out, prepared to go above and beyond your normal everyday life, get to traveling, show up, you know, just show up, show up, show up. And then what I love is you actually attracted into your life a program that features everyday folks doing extraordinary things. Because a lot of times, and I talk to a lot of people, as you know, and sometimes they feel like, you know, we know about the Grant Cardones, but they feel like they're way, way up here. They're too far removed from my experiences. So instead of connecting, I feel like sometimes there's a disconnect. So we got to work our way up to those level of people, right? And here you were able to actually attract into your life a program that talks about everyday folks building themselves. And how cool is it that you're in a room later on, let's say a year and a half, 2 years, in a room where you're talking to people that are standing up there that took themselves to $1 billion and possibly more. That is power. And that is you just following some processes, believing in yourself, really using the law of attraction, because as it came to you, you didn't question it. It's like, yep, this makes sense. I'm taking it and I'm learning and I'm doing because I just know there's something better. You know, so for me, I really want that lesson to come out to people. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Obviously, you want to manage that investment to your what you can afford, but connect, step up, show up. There's a networking event, whether it's in Canada or the USA. If this is your calling, show up, shake hands, say hello. You know, I've pushed a lot of people to do that, and in the first meeting, they're nervous, and then when they realize people are actually welcoming, it's like they're one of them now. So I want to commend you on that for sure. But more importantly, I'm thanking you for sharing that insight for me, because when we hear it from people like yourselves, you know, it makes a world of difference. And this is how we connect with people, you know. So absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. And what I like as well, Howard, is that, you know, your strategy or the way you're doing it is you actually offer Canadians the opportunity to work with your company to as a lender or to jump into a deal, whatever that looks like. But maybe you could probably explain that a little bit more. Like, is it a dedication to the fact that you live here, that you want other people to kind of come on that journey with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact is, you know, thank you for the opportunity, Mitch. The fact is, I would say this, you know, the journey to find, you know, this is really interesting for Canadians, being in Canadian as well.
Yes.
We always want to, you know, if that is you know, that's a dream. Let's say that you want to build a 100-unit property. That's just like, first of all, that simple. Canadians, and I'm being one of them as well. So I'm also having the same curse, like, you know, so to speak. We want to lay out everything. Like, you know, it's like this. You want to, like, let's say you want to buy a car that's a dream car. You want to lay out every single thing. I'm talking about, you know, what the address, you know, what do I put on deodorant, you know, what kind of hair that I'm going to put it on, and what kind of purse or that I'm bringing today, and so on and so forth. And why I say that is because when you're buying, let's just say that asset, when you're building a new business, just knowing this, there's no way, and just like anything in life, you know, there's no way you can plan everything out. Just knowing that. Well, if you want to get to A to B, knowing that you need a car and you need to have a driver's license, but you cannot plan for every single event that you're going to see from A to B. Whether you plan or not, you do, but don't overplan. You know, it is good to be planning, but knowing that what is the enough level of planning and what exactly, when you feel that you're seeing that, you know, I probably overplan, because you know what? if it requires you 5 years of planning to get from A to B, you know what? The meeting is actually in half an hour. It's not going to help you. So,
I love
so,
that.
so, um, don't be over plan, but you plan. But at the same time, knowing the leap of faith, because that's
Right.
two things in life: is opportunity and time and hard work and all that. But knowing that time comes and goes, and opportunity come and goes. I have this sayings from my, I used to work at engineering firm, and this GM, general manager, I love him because he said this to me, is always ingrained into me. He is a very successful general manager in that company.
Yes.
And he said this, Howard, in order for you to be lucky, you really kind of have to, he called it hit by the lucky bus. You kind of have to kind of stand in the lucky highway,
Yeah.
and so that the lucky bus can hit you.
Right.
So if no use, if you every plan every single things and to the down to the details, but you cannot get in the lucky highway and get hit by lucky bus at the lucky moment. So yeah, so we were very lucky to be able to build a fund, build a general partner GP and all that. But don't let that detail to stopping you and us to go pursue your dream, because that is not the dream. The dream is to the end goal, right? To get from A to B, to be on a lucky line. Because you know what? Like opportunity come and goes. Who knows that, the COVID the last 2 years bring up the real estate asset like multi-flow. If
Yeah.
you and I were waiting, and I remember that during that time 2 years ago, we were still really small, and we are still right now. But remember, it's like everyone was so scared about, oh, it's the COVID is hit and coming. Why I say that? Why I want to bring it today? Because today is the same. People was worried about, what is the interest rate is going to go? What is the taxation is going to be affecting us? You know what? Those are all important. But don't let that detail to be impeding you, to be stopping you, hinging you to go to where you need to be. So that's what I really want to share.
No, absolutely. That's brilliant. I absolutely love that. And like you say, man, you got to get in front of that lucky bus, right? You can't be on the sidelines planning all the time. Love the way you frame that. So we got to look for a lucky bus. But I think one of the key fundamentals here too that you're demonstrating, Howard, is the fact that you're taking imperfect action. You just know that every dream, every goal, you need imperfect action. You just need to get going, right? The deals you when you get going, the deals will show up. When the deals show up, the people around you that needs to make that deal happen will show up. You don't need to go to the accountants and set up a GPLP, hoping to get something. It's the other way around. It's like get into the RAS, get into the places that the deals are happening. They're flowing. You're connecting with people who are, maybe this deal doesn't work for me, but it's a great deal. I'll pass it on to you, right? There are communities, there are people, there's places. Like if I network with you, if I'm invested with you, well, guess what? You got a great deal. You're not going to let that just fly. You're probably going to say, hey, Mr. My investors, here's an interesting deal. If you guys want it, it's yours. This is where you get the true gems. It's in the networking, it's in the private deals, it's in the off-market deals, it's in the as they say, in the trenches, knocking on doors or finding the right companies that are just getting rid of certain levels of buildings now because they want to scale, or maybe they're out of the business, they're just liquidating. So show up, be present, be a guest on podcasts like these, because the more touch points you have is the more people will realize, hey, you're putting yourself out there. So guess what? I'm interested now. I'm intrigued, And for me, I mean, I'm blessed to be able to be chatting with you as well, because we're all on this journey for building real estate. And honestly, the biggest and the best opportunities we have is the networking. You'll come to realize, like when you get to meet people like yourself, powerful, moving ahead, when people come into the community and they're talking about, well, I don't talk to my family because they just don't get it, or they might put me down, or I'm not sure if my friends or my colleagues are the right environment. This is why you come here, so we can meet people like Mitch or like Howard, who's doing things, and then they can say, yep, you know what, you're on the right track. Maybe if you did this, or how about if you talk to my guy? This is game changing, simple everyday conversations. Like, how powerful is that, you know? So give us an idea, Howard, of some of the things that you're doing in the US, and you know, and the connection with people. Like, do you make yourself available to chat with people? Because I can appreciate that you're probably having a busy day as well, right?
No, well, everyone's busy, but I always knowing that, always be receiving the opportunity from people. That really two things it does. First of all, you get more by having that. Second of all, is stay yourself grounded. Grounded people are more successful. I just looking from the observations, right? And they move further. So yeah, so it's great that you can build a little bit of asset, but at the same time, knowing where you're from, and how you can grow. So yeah, I'm always happy to chat. We have deals. We are actually closing two buildings right now. One is 40 units, one 90 units. And it's very amazing. So we're charging ahead to the 500 units, hopefully by the end of the year. So, but long and short is we're grateful to be connected. So yeah, I'm sure Mitch, you have my contact informations, or just you can feel free to share that on your communication with your gangs and girls, and looking for the connect and looking for the help.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm more than happy to, Howard. For viewers as well, Howard's contact information will be in the comments below, so you can always access that information. Howard, one of the things that I want to really touch on as well, because it's a passion of mine, and it's really about mindset. A lot of people don't get it. Like, you're talking to me so casually. I'm doing a 40 unit deal, 90 unit deal. You're targeting 500 doors. Your mindset has shifted tremendously from the days of where do I go, what do I do, to look at the scale. And for viewers as well, I want them to understand that the shift in mindset, you actually control that. And you Howard, you demonstrate that so admirably. So tell our viewers, like, step out of your comfort zone, and set your mind to embrace the fact that you're going to do things differently, and you're going to do bigger things than you even thought possible. How was it for you in the beginning?
I would say, well, I always, I think I'm quite lucky, to be honest.
Mhm.
Just like you, I read a lot, and I find that, different person, different kind of way of consuming informations. I read a lot, and I like to look up to my heroes, right? And how they build big asset. And honestly, you can copy, like I always saying that, don't we were not starting out from, having even a multi-family space. We didn't. We were from our parents as like renters for life. So long story short is, you can always go find some heroes outside to be able to help you. And knowing that at the beginning it's going to be slow, but I always very encouraging look at this factors, Mitch. If you, I'm sure like a lot of people read the book called $1 Million Next Door, and I trying to present it to so many people. And when I knowing that how many millionaires in the world is actually self-made or other make, let's go other make, because you cannot really self-make money. It's a teamwork. So I'm talking about, with your own network, with your own knowledge, with your own hard work, and after 10 years of hard work, overnight success, then you make those money. So we talk about 70 to 80% of millionaire is actually artist make, or like generated from the first himself.
Right.
So that is very encouraging. So knowing that, you're not so special if you're on this journey, you're just one of us, right? We're all trying to make it. We're trying to make opportunity for our next generations. So go read and go network, as you said, learn from people who have done it, and and keep knocking the door. You only need one. You only need one opportunity. You only need one person to give you the opportunity, and then it will germinate from there. So I strongly recommend that. Talk to people who are already have a little bit of success, and don't mind sharing that success. And so I'm sure Mitch and I is one of those people. We come from somewhere, and we still going somewhere, but we want to help. So yeah, no, definitely reach out.
Yeah, no, I love that. Absolutely. And again, I just want to reinforce the fact that what you're sharing first is like, just step out there, just give it a go. There are people that would support you. There's so much information now. If you really want to grow and scale, it's there. Just get on the bandwagon, invest in yourself, train yourself. I mean, that's the one thing that I want people to understand is you are going to be investing in yourself to train, to learn new things. And when you do, then you can implement. Howard clearly demonstrated. They spent night after night for almost 2 years just learning, absorbing, being that sponge. And then, then you can really take off. And that's what I want people. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself, be it, in a community, in a coaching, in a self-learn program, in reading books. Success breeds success. Get in the lane, get in the highway, the lucky bus is coming. The lucky bus is coming. And it's probably got a lot of pineapples in there too, because it's all about being tough on the outside and sweet on the inside.
I'm sure about that. Sweet potato, right? I mean, sweet pineapple.
Absolutely. And you know what? You build so much friendships because you realize that the people who's doing this business, it's not just the business, man. It's the connectivity. It's the getting together, sharing a meal or having a drink and talking about successes. Really and truly, when you embrace like-minded people and you get into that environment, you can go talking for days on days, man. It just never ends because you're just energized. Every conversation kind of gives you back sort of energy because now you're kind of hearing the same stories with yourself at different levels. So, I do appreciate that. And Howard, once again, man, I really want to thank you because you've imparted such good knowledge for us. Like you've shared your true story with us. It's not a marketing ploy. It's not like, I'm taking strips. You're telling us as we experience it. We're uncertain at some point in time, but when you find your groove, don't slow down. Just keep moving, just keep going, and I love that with you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you. I learned a lot from people such as yourself and having a great network and sharing that. Keep doing, Mitch. I applaud for what you're doing and keep helping people, everyday people like you and I. That's a lot of them. And you know what? It's really is a great cause. So thank you so much for doing that, Mitch.
Howard, thank you very much. And once again, folks, remember to hit the like, subscribe, and notify button as we grow our community. And here is the Pineapple Podcast, wishing all of you great successes in your real estate journey. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye.